Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrolis, and we are super excited for today's guest. We actually kind of sort of had him on before. He was actually awesome enough to try to do it from the Reggie Lewis Arena, but tough service. But he is back here. He did a heck of a job, and I wanted to be able to finish this conversation with him because I think it's important for other young athletes to kind of hear his message a little bit. And those coaches that are recruiting him right now, they can listen to this and realize what a great player they're going to have on and off the field as well. So I really wanted to make sure we got to have this conversation again. But someone who I got to see play a few times this year on a personal level, on both sides of the football is a difference maker. But me being a defensive guy, I always lean towards the defensive side. Having a safety like him that can come up and play the man, play the ball, and play the box is not very common. It can change your whole defense, and that's what this guy kind of brings to the table. So, without further introduction here, because he is awesome, we're gonna get through a lot today. Prince Xavier.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad we got you back on here. And as I said, I'm going to kind of jump right into it just because this season, obviously the Mustangs had another successful season, and
Yeah.
there's great leadership that's involved in that. But you specifically had a great season on both sides of the football. Seeing you on the offensive side of the ball, we covered you against Northeast. I mean, your run, I think it was like a 40 yard run that kind of really opened the game up for you guys and kind of put you in full control. That was impressive. But defensively on the other side of the ball, you also smacking guys by the goal line, making big hits to the points that guys shied away from you a little bit. And that's, guys then having to maybe cut the ball up a little quicker than they want or catch a pass and just kind of feel those footsteps a little bit and have, short arms. But
Yeah.
that's kind of what you bring to the table. And talk about your season a little bit individually and how well you did. And then we can maybe jump to the squad a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. At the start of the season, I wasn't having the best season. First three games, I was missing tackles. I was going for big hits, but I wasn't wrapping up. I was like doing arm tackles and stuff like that. But you know, it was just not at first. It wasn't the best. Like I wasn't having the best season, and I remember like thinking to myself like, damn. Now I bet everybody's saying, "Oh, Medford is going back to to his old ways," or like people would try to say about me and be like, "Man, this dude is trash now." You know what I mean? And like maybe last year was just a fluke, this and that. So I was all up in my head, but then I had to realize that there was only one person I could trust, and that's God. And I had put all my trust in God, and I said, God, it don't matter how this season went. I'm just glad that I'm able to play. There aren't many people who get this chance. So, and I just left it all to God. And then what do I know? The season starts turning around for me, and next thing you know, I'm being everybody's depending on me to like stop the offense and stuff like that. But
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that for a second because, for the people that are listening in, I mean, when you talk about the first three games of the season, the Mustangs were 0-3, and you lost some highly competitive games. I mean, you played Everett at the time early on in the season where Everett has kind of owned the GBL for a really long period of time. And you guys played them very tough. And I kind of felt like, man, after that game, even though you might have lost and the score was obviously not what the game was in the fourth quarter, you take chances, you try to be who you are a little bit, make a mistake, it just blows the floodgates open, right? So like the score definitely wasn't what the game was, but I thought to myself, man, they got Classical next week. That'll be an interesting game to see, and that was a tough game that you guys lost, a close game. But an 0-3 team that I felt was like, man, they could make a run here. Like these, and Coach Curley and I talked about it. And we talked about this before it happened. I was like, you guys could like knock off 5, 6 in a row, man. Like it's realistic, And so to kind of see it happen, I mean, when a team's 0-3, leadership, I mean, that fourth game's huge because now you go 0-4, your season looks like it's pretty much over versus winning that game as a must win for you. I mean, talk about maybe just the leadership on that team, specifically that week into practice, maybe what was different a little bit. How did you approach things a little bit differently? But what was maybe kind of the message as far as I know what Coach Curley's message was, but what was, as far as the team go, what was the difference that maybe started what ended up being a 5 game winning streak?
I think the leadership was I could see it in everybody's eyes. I could see it in the whole team that nobody wanted to go 0-4 because 0-3 is already bad enough, and people was already thinking that we was going back to our old Medford ways, and everybody just was on the same page. I remember that first week, that first day of that week of that practice, I was seeing everybody's eyes. There was some kids under, like, underclassmen just laughing around, but you could see the people who actually wanted it, the people who actually cared about the program, the people who actually wanted to win. Um, Everybody was on the same page, so it made it easier for us to really, like, have good, better practices, because none of us wanted to go 0-4. None of us wanted to lose another game. After that, after that third game that we had lost, we was on that bus, like, saying we will not lose ever again. But
Right.
obviously that's not. But we were saying that we was done losing, but everybody had that mentality because nobody wanted to go back to the old ways. And I looked at Justin's eyes, I looked at Nathan, Demi, all them dudes, everybody was on the same page. So it was like to have a lot of all those leaders, even the ones that aren't captain, those people stepping up, like Ernsto, like, dude, every time I practice, you see him, he was like being loud and stuff. I'm like, damn, I,
Yeah.
I get it now, but but it's just like it wasn't like specifically like captains. I feel like everybody was coming up to the same page in that more. And then when other people that wasn't on that page, they see more people that usually doesn't get on the same page. They see them getting on the same page. So now it's like a domino effect. Now everybody starts following, everybody starts buying, and everybody starts running, like sprinting when they usually jog. Everybody starts to hit harder, you know, and especially Coach Curley. You know, at practice, man,
I mean, I know, man. I know.
yeah, man, it was not easy, man. Dude had us do like over like 70 up downs and stuff like that, because we was serious. Like, it was like,
Yeah.
I'm tired of this, we're not going back to our old ways. But the coaches were serious, the players were serious, and that's all we needed to get the team going. It wasn't just like one person was leading or that other person was leading. There was a few people that led by example, but everyone else just kind of tag along, and boom, and next thing you know, we was all on the same page. And even after that first win, we was saying, nah, bro, we're not done yet. We're gonna keep our foot on the gas. And yeah, it was just that from there. We just all on that same page. That's when we all connected the dots, and then boom, we was winning games back to back. And
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, and that's like what I noticed. I mean, I covered you guys in Somerville, I covered you guys in Northeast, so I kind of see that back-to-back week. And again, at that point in the season, those teams, Somerville was a team that was, I think, 3-1 when you guys play them, or maybe 3-2, but they were definitely on the winning side. Every team that you kind of beat on that streak at one point was kind of either on a small streak themselves or a pretty good football team. So it wasn't like you were also beating teams that maybe had one or two wins. You were beating teams that all had winning records, and
yeah,
obviously a Lynn English team that a lot of teams didn't expect you to beat. Most teams picked English that week, and obviously people thought they were a team that could, make it and get a ranking in the top 10 in their division. So, and you guys came out and, had a tough first half and beat them. So I saw a lot of growth with the team. I saw a lot of you guys just like different guys stepping up consistently, constantly. And that
mhm,
really seemed to be the theme, when there'd be some games that Justin would have a big game and some games that teams would key on him a little bit more. And, you in Northeast really breaking the game open, like I mentioned before, and winning it for them. Guy Martins with a great counter that really kind of put you down there. I mean, let's talk about Guy for a second, actually.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I like Guy a lot. He was in school. He was always respectful, nice kid. I see him in Jim's Market when he was a little bit younger. He'd always say hi to me, and but he yaps on the field, huh? Like he's a big time.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what he says, but I just see the head going, the hand gestures going. I'm like, this kid, like, he's tough. Like, he plays a position that he's undersized for. And I mean that. I'm a short guy myself, but he plays a linebacker position. And he's physical as hell. And it's fun to watch him on the field. He's animated. He's smart. He makes a lot of plays. He's around the ball.
Of course.
Plays. He seems to be there. So it's just kind of like he does all the little things that I think go unnoticed a little bit. But as someone who's watching the outside and kind of understands it a little bit, I'm like, man, this kid, like, if he didn't make a play here, this could have been a bigger yardage play, or this counter really kind of opened up the game against Northeast and forced them into a different defense a little bit. Like,
No, yeah,
yeah,
Gee is
it's great.
yeah, Gee is definitely tough. Like it's I like whenever it's like we practicing, it's always like he's either calling me out or Justin or one of the bigger guys. You know, he likes the competition. And whenever it's like us going head up in a Oklahoma drill, man, that's fun to watch for real. Everybody starts, hyping us up because they know we're gonna hit hard because like we be hitting hard because we're like the top picks. Whenever coach asks us to call someone out, it's either he calls me out or I call him out or I call Justin.
Yeah.
But like it's just like a circle, But Gia is definitely tough. Like he's definitely looking for competition. He definitely wants to smoke. That I can say.
Yeah,
He's
I
not scared
mean,
of the smoke, and
you
I
can
like
see it.
that because
You can
then
see it.
other yeah.
And I think he's great. I think that that is, I mean, for a kid in the program who's maybe a little bit more undersized than other guys in the program, it's a great like leadership example for kids in the program who might feel like they're too small to play football or too frail to play football. That you see a kid like there who hits the weight room, who buys into it, who knows what he's doing and gets better at it, and as a result of that, comes out and has a great season. And yeah, I think that's great just overall for your guys' program and so on. And we're going to talk more about your team, your program, but I do want to dive into a little bit something that was cool that we were able to talk about a little bit before, but we covered the unified basketball game this year, and we were, I've had a lot of kids at camp that played in that game, a lot of kids who had a class who played in that game. So it was really fun to come down there and cover. But one of the more entertaining parts of this game was the mascot. The mascot was dancing to the band playing, was just really animated out in the court pregame, during the game, going crazy when kids hit shots. I mean, just like I'm into that stuff, that school spirit, rah rah. I think that just brings a lot to your school and who kids are a little bit and rooting for others. It just like brings a good vibe. I mean, I know you kind of weren't technically supposed to be the mascot for that game, but dude, you put on a hell of a performance. I mean, you should be considered a full-time person for that. They should be like paying you in like whatever. I don't know what they can pay you in. I mean, money obviously, but if not, dude, give you some study halls, give you some extra PE classes during the week or something during the season, but you killed it, man. You were great. I mean, talk about doing something like that for your school, a little bit outside the box of who you are as a football player.
Oh yeah, so that was I definitely wanted to do that because I always wanted to be a mascot. I be looking at them on TV and I'm like, man, I could do better than that. Looks dry, bro. You're not even doing nothing. But I like to dance. That's something that not many people know about me, but I do like to dance. I be in my bathroom like doing dance moves and stuff like that,
Okay.
putting on music. But um
How are you like in proms and school dances and stuff? Do you kind of get down the dance floor?
nah, I haven't gone to no prom yet.
Okay, okay, okay,
But nah, I don't be going to the schools dances and stuff like that. But it's
okay.
because I'd be too busy with practicing football or going to some type of camps. But I don't really go to the school dances. But this year for sure I'm going. But
Okay, okay. Well, you got to show off those skills then, man. You got to show.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Who now? Okay, obviously you're dancing. I mean, different types of genre of music, but getting back into game mode a second, and maybe it's kind of a similar vibe of who you are pre-game as a person. What are you listening to, like in the pods? Like, what music, what artists kind of get you juiced up before big games? That kind of like are go to on a playlist.
Well, before games, I don't really like listen to music. I be listening to like motivational speeches,
Yeah.
especially the one from like Ray Lewis. So that be getting me fired up. I be getting off the bus like, oh yeah, I'm ready to kill somebody, man. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care about my body. I don't care about my life. I'm just ready to run through someone. I feel like motivational videos are will get you more locked in than music. You know what I mean? Because then it's just like it's like a classical conditioning in your head that you just you getting locked into like make the plays. So because you're already making the plays in your head while you're listening to the specific motivational speech about football, you know.
Yeah.
So I barely listen to music, but if I would, I'd just be listening to like Chief Keef or something.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
I
just
mean, I asked that because it is different for everybody. Some
yeah,
people
for
give
sure.
me artists that range from someone like who to like, wow, I used to listen to that when I played. Like that's so interesting. But I think music and obviously motivational, speeches and talks. I think that's all part of like building a mentality. And you mentioned like you get off the bus and you're ready to kill. Like so that kind of slides me easily into kind of me talking to you about on the defensive side of the ball here a little bit, where
Yeah,
I always kind of tilt my hat like Coach Curley to the defensive side. I think being able to stop teams and scheme and be able to create different packages to come in to get more kids involved, to get more speed on the field, to kind of throw, a front in there that is unorthodox and just you have a lot of athletes on the field. I think it's fun when you can mess with offenses. I like to kind of shut
yeah.
down. But and I mean this as a defensive coordinator for a really long time. Some of my best defenses I had when people ask me what was the main success we had that year, my answer very commonly at the top, if not the second thing I would say is we had a safety who could come up and play the box. We had a safety who could come up and play the run. And that like changes everything. And
For
I
sure.
saw from you guys defensively was you exactly that. And I always hone in on that a little bit more and pay attention to that because it changes the dynamic. You can cover the pass, pretty well. And but your role is more coming up into the box and being that fast guy who maybe gets a quick hit on like a 2 or 3 yard gain and you are there to make a play like on the outside, on the edge, like C gap, whatever. Like I think that's God, it's fun to watch someone who's that good at it and to hit too, like you do, you don't shy. I mean, talk about playing defense and just that mentality in general of who you are, because you are pretty like calm kid, nice kid, well mannered kid, but getting on the field obviously is a different animal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but definitely, whenever you step on that field, you just gotta turn on that mode. Like you're not the same person anymore. Like you're a whole different person out there. But what I mainly try to do is that I try to play like I'm already in the college level. So, like I would say, if I can't handle this defense, how am I supposed to handle a defense in college? You know what I mean? So like an offense in college. So like
Yeah.
if I can't do that, then there is no way I'm making it to college. So I'll be trying to like try to question myself a little bit more, and but my main thing is just that I try to make the offenses adjust to me. So like I'm not because like usually people like offenses I mean, defenses adjust to offenses, right? But what I try to do is try to get the offense to adjust to us. So we control the offense because the defense has to make them like,
Right.
change up their ways, But I try to do that more because that's why I'm trying to go all around. Even though if I'm like even if we're like too high safety, I'm like the all the way on the right, I'm gonna come down to the left to make the play. So like even if they're trying to get the play away from me, I'm still gonna go there. Or I'm still gonna try my best to get there faster. But
And I feel like I've seen that with you. I mean, I think the most impressive thing that I notice, and a lot of times, especially when teams might be driving on your defense, you guys did a great job of always kind of standing ground and not allowing points. But what I would notice too, just getting those back shots, I sometimes kind of stand where you were a little bit because, you most of the time, a lot of times to the strength of the formation, which means that's where a lot of teams are kind of going for the most part, or to the wide side of the field, depending on what hash mark it's on. So, I'd always kind of see where you were a little bit, and that would give me a good idea of kind of like seeing the aggression, if it was like, running play or more like a, probability to be a running play. I kind of would just keep the camera on you and just like see. And there's a specific clip that we got from Northeast that you kind of came up on the goal line I mean, and just jackknife the dude to the ground. I mean, I don't know how else to really describe it. Wrestling move. It's like a backbreaker. That's what they call it, I believe. But
Yeah.
it was like, man, in gameplay quickly to come up in the box that quick, and you heard the hit. It was like it was even here in the crowd going like, ooh, like it wasn't a big cheer. It was kind of like, ooh, like even when I think my reaction behind it was like, ooh, you know, and it was just like a hit you heard. Um, and it was like one of my favorite clips. I think I still might even have it saved. But that's just like kind of what I notice you bring to the table is just, man, when a safety can come up and whack, it's like having an extra linebacker on the field who can actually cover somebody too. Like that's just like, man, those are my best defenses that I kind of ever had. Um, at any level, really, truthfully, was when we had really good, strong safety. So, yeah, that's just like what I kind of noticed about your
Appreciate
a little bit with that, and yeah, that's all interesting. One thing I do want to talk about, obviously, before we jump into maybe the recruitment aspect of things, is your last high school game. We covered your last high school game, obviously, from a different perspective in winning that game. Now you kind of have that video with commentating and everything else. But Thanksgiving, I mean, talk about your last high school game, you know, and being able to obviously play in a rivalry that is one of the top in the nation as far as longevity of it, and being able to kind of come out on a crappy day. Let's be honest, pouring rain, not really the best of best days,
it.
and really kind of decisively, you know, win your last game. I mean, early first quarter, early first half, but I felt like, man, if you guys came out and scored, or played defense in that, and you did, you kind of everything fell into place those first couple drives as far as offense and defense went. You guys just really took control of the game. But talk about that last game a little bit in that rivalry as a player and just kind of what it meant to you.
Yeah, that rivalry with me really started sophomore year because that's when I didn't play them good, but that's when I had transferred. I had moved here, but I didn't play in that game because I was injured, and that was the Fenway game, and I wanted to play in that game so bad
Yeah.
because I mean, who wouldn't want to play at Fenway? But yeah, I was injured, so I couldn't play that game. But and I remember after they had won, everybody was like talking so crazy, and I was like, damn, I wish I could have played, so that really where it really started. So then junior year, that's when that game meant a lot more to me than just the game, because I wanted to play in that last game, but I didn't. But junior year, I had to really let off some steam, and that's when
Yeah.
I went crazy on them. And this year, my last game, I feel like I was getting targeted a little bit because of last year, of junior year, because I was coming up in the box like I always do, making tackles back to back.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
remember.
yeah, I remember. I think this year I was definitely getting targeted more. There was like as soon as we got on the field, I noticed that you know they were doing like a little two extra on with me. Even when the play was over, they just went, you know,
Yeah.
still kept on trying to like hurt me and stuff. And I was getting hurt pretty much like every 5 plays during that game. But
Yeah.
um I knew that I couldn't stop playing because it was my last game. It doesn't matter how much I was hurt, I had to finish through. But that was definitely a meaningful game for us. And I did not want to lose that game because it meant so much to the city and the coaches and me. But that's just especially it being my last game. Like that's just something that I just could not do. And I feel like everybody else was on the same page. And especially because there was a lot of the alumni from last year. They were there watching the game. We couldn't let them boys down. So we had to really play for everybody. But it was a very emotional game, but it was also a pretty good game that we all knew what we wanted to do. We all knew what we could have done. So we was all on that same page, and we don't take disrespect too very lightly, and we don't like being disrespected, especially when coach realizes it. Coach was telling us like he don't like when teams disrespect us because he knows the type of talent that we got here. So we definitely had to go crazy in that game.
Yeah, and I felt like maybe your most complete game. It was kind of good to see you guys. I felt that you controlled the first quarter, and then you kind of a turnover really changed the tide of the game a little bit. And then halftime, you seemed to regroup. I never was really. I didn't felt like you guys ever lost control of that game. I felt like defensively, you kind of just got some stupid penalties, and that really cost you on a drive. I think you got back to back 15 yards. That's like or 15 yards, 2 out of your 3 defensive plays. That's like 30 yards you gave on a short field. I think they got the ball right at midfield when on the turnover. So, you kinda gave them that more than anything. I didn't feel like they really earned it, and the quarterback going down, I just didn't feel like they were gonna be able to really do much in the second half, and that's kinda exactly what happened on both sides of the ball. But you play your last game, football's over. But for you, like, the real fun stuff starting in the beginning has already begun for you. We've kinda already collaborated on a few posts of college offers that you have received. What's this process like for you? I'm going to ask you this in two parts, and we'll kind of focus on this part first, and I'll jump into the second part after. But when you first get like that first letter of acceptance, I mean, Oakland City, I know I saw you kind of post that. We collabed on that, but that's a legit offer there. And that's obviously something cool that you get that says, hey, man, this is what you worked so hard for. And you mentioned like you skipped proms as a junior, you skipped things, you didn't do that stuff because you go into camps and doing other things to focus on moments like this, to get letters like this, to get offers like this. So what was it like to kind of get that, see your name on a piece of paper saying that someone wanted you, being able to share that on social media and kind of show off the work that you've put into it so far?
Man, it was amazing, man. It was like it's like a feeling I can't even describe. But I had called my mom. I was like, "Yo, mom, I just got a scholarship." She was like, "Oh, praise Lord, this and that." But it made me really happy because I had prayed for that a lot and I had worked towards it a lot. I never shy away from the competition. I never back down no matter what it was because I always knew that if I kept putting my faith in God, you know, eventually he's gonna deliver. So I had that was just for that to happen. Just I all I did was I was like, thank you, Lord. I knew this day would come. It was just amazing because knowing that a lot of people had doubted me, especially because like last year's games, I had I didn't have the best years, and but just being able to go from that dark place to getting my first offer is just like the growth was just pretty amazing, and it's just like I felt like I accomplished something, and it was just like I had called my mom. I was just telling her, Mom, I was working so hard for this, I did all this and that, but and then my grandma was on there. It was like saying, "Oh yeah, she already knew. She had no doubt that I was gonna get that." I was like, "Yeah, appreciate it." But yeah, man, it was pretty awesome. Just because I know the amount of work I put in, and like it was even to the point where I was doing 5 a.m. workouts with this coach, but and then I was also doing 6 a.m. workouts on the Saturdays. But it was crazy because the amount of work I had put in, it was just amazing that was rewarded to me. But
Yeah, and it's nice to hear that. I mean, as a coach, we used to do. I mean, not how legal this was, but we used to do it, so they can't get me in trouble for it anymore. But we used to do like 6 a.m. workouts like 3 days a week during school. Like you would meet at the field, and I kind of have my stuff to get ready for school after I go back to the coach's room and get ready. The kids would go back to the locker room and shower and get ready. But we would put in like cardio conditioning, like 45 minutes, and it was like group stuff, individual stuff, and then we come together and play like some game at the end. It was like ankle resistors, and it was a big giant box, and it was a game of tag, and you had like 30 seconds to tag everybody, and you got to change directions and take shorter steps and quicker. You move your feet quicker, and it was like good stuff like that that you did. But that's team bonding. But that's also like, man, for a high school kid to get up and do that consistently, warm weather, cold weather, crappy weather, whatever it is, it's not easy. And it sounds easy, and most people talk about it, but most people ain't about it, so it's kind of
yeah,
kind of
sure.
different in that sense. Um, The second part of this, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the recruiting process. We do have a lot of young listeners out here, a lot of kids that are going through this stuff that are doing it themselves, or maybe just a beginning process for them. What are some things that you kind of look at when you look at schools or schools that are interested in you, whether that's just major and maybe what you're interested in, or what you're looking for in a campus or a campus life, or being involved in stuff like that? Like, is anything kind of stood out you in the process or that you specifically look for talking to some of these schools?
Yeah, so I would say just you have to go for the schools that you know that you can get into, and the schools that you know that you have a high chance of getting recruited by. So like for example, like if you hit up Ohio State, for example, like and you don't have the GPA for Ohio State or the film for it, you're just being delusional. So you gotta start. You gotta know where you're at, and you gotta know your level, and you have to hit up the coaches that would probably want you the most instead of going for the big ones, because those big ones will come, but there's gonna be time for those. But I knew where I was at. I knew where I'm at. So even if it's not like a big D1 school, you may try to you should shoot for like a lower Division 1, but still Division 1. That's like you just gotta know your level, but also um you gotta sell yourself, because you can't rely on your coach to do everything for you, because the coach can only do so much. So you're the product, and you have to sell yourself, and you have to do it constantly. If I show you my Twitter right now, is like it's constant, like me texting coaches back to back. Like if you don't hit them up, they will most likely not get to you. Like if you see right here, this is all me hitting coaches up, sending my film out, my information, everything. But you have to hit up as many coaches as you possibly can, and you have to make sure like they're whenever they hit you back, you're able to like have everything that they would ask you for. Like for example, yeah, before you ask them, before you sent them their film, you have to look up their GPA requirements, stuff like that, so that you can qualify and not waste their time. But yeah, definitely the biggest thing I would say is just you have to look at the campus first, like search it up, do all that, look at the GPA requirements, and see that if you would like to go to that college. Don't just do it just because you just want to rack up offers, and that's not really ideal. But there's no point of like trying to rack up offers if you're only gonna commit to one school. That's just a waste of time. But you just have to
What's the
hit.
hard part of that? Because what you said is being realistic and wasting time, and I think what I coach with sometimes I would struggle with kind of talking to some of my players is being realistic a little bit and being like, yeah, that sounds great. However, this like I just don't know if that's necessary. Like, and that's kind of a hard conversation to have sometimes when I think kids are set. You never want to stop somebody from like achieving and going after something. But I think it's important to also understand that hard work goes into anything, but certain things like that, it's like even more so. And I think you want to look at playing versus being a part of a program is two different things, right? So I think, like you saying, being realistic is really important in that process and knowing who you are as a player and where you fit in best. And then you mentioned just kind of the life there, like, life outside football. If you shredded your knee or, hurt your shoulder or hurt your back, who are you now on this campus as just yourself, right? Like not the
Yeah.
football, who you are a little bit as a person. What are you taking up? What are you interested in? Like, so knowing that stuff, and sometimes you don't know that at a young age either, and sometimes, people dog the transfer portal, and trust me, I think there's a lot of wrong with it. But I also think you're asking young kids to make decisions at a young age of what they think the best program might be for them. And maybe some people run away because of its playing time, but sometimes you might just realize you go to a school for a year and you're not fitting into, maybe what the message is there, you're not buying into it, and you just maybe isn't the right place for you. It's always hard to make decisions. So it's you have a lot of offers. I mean, you showed your phone there. How many coaches are you talking to? How many schools? I don't know if you can even say that, but how many people have you kind of been speaking to or schools that you've been speaking to over the last couple of months?
Honestly, I've lost track, because I've be hitting coaches up like mostly every day, just because like I said, you always have to sell yourself. coaches out there that are searching for certain positions, that's another thing too. You have to search. You have to look at coaches that are looking for certain positions. So if they're looking for your position to fill in next year, they might not have any commits from the transfer portal. So then they have to resort to you, which is the high schooler, you know. But you have to you have to target the coaches that are looking for your position specifically. But yeah, right now I don't remember. I don't know. I don't have a set like number of how many coaches I'm talking to. I just have like a lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I be hitting coaches up every day now. I'm just trying to get the best offer I can possibly get, and you know, wherever feels like home, that's where I'm gonna go.
Now, are you focused more on the defensive side of the football? Or are you kind of hearing from schools from both sides of the ball? I mean, what's that recruitment been like positionally for you?
So most they're most definitely interested in me in defensively, but they also mentioned like most of them also mentioned that they see I'm a very good special teams guy. So, but yeah, that's yeah. So and I ain't nothing wrong with that because I do love special teams, kickoff, especially kickoff. See
Yeah.
that's where I like to come down somebody and just make it later hit, you know. But
God, I was just gonna say kickoff and punt, like punt. Like I could see you just like being a gunner on the outside and beating a
yeah,
guy off the edge or beating a guy inside and having a clean run and like you having like a highlight hit reel on a guy who doesn't wave for the fair catch and kind of
yeah.
let him up to, like
Now
I
the crazy thing is, I actually do have a highlight of that.
do you? Yeah, I mean I could see it. I mean I could
Yeah.
definitely see that that would easily happen with you.
No,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, that's great. And obviously I'm gonna kind of slide into one of the last things that I ask most guests that come on here, depending on who they are and whether they're a coach or a player or whatever. What's your advice to young athletes out there? I mean, obviously you talked about sacrifice and working hard and getting to where you got to in the moment you got there, family reaction, the whole nine. But it's we get to talk about that in a 5 minute window, but that is years and years of hard work that you've put into what you've done. What's your advice to say kids right now, high school level, freshmen, they just went through their freshman year, they're loving football, they think it's just something they might want to play collegiately. What would be your advice to kids that are at that point right now? What would you say to them?
I would say don't compare yourself to like bigger guys, you know, because I feel like nowadays, just most people that play football, they look at like guys like Travis Hunter and be like, damn, I could never be like this dude. Why not? Like he's human, you human. Like you can do it, he can do it. The only difference is he's doing it and you're not doing it. That's the only difference, you know. But I try to like what I'm trying to say is that don't belittle yourself. Don't undermine your skills. It doesn't matter what your talent level is, doesn't matter how fast you are, it doesn't matter how good you can tackle. But all I'm saying is if you go 110%, you are most definitely likely to make the tackles to have success. Most like 90% of the times you will succeed. If you go 110%, 90% of the time you will succeed because it doesn't matter how talented you are, how talented the other person is. If you're going 110%, and just because he's talented, he's over here jogging, thinking he's just because I'm talented, this dude's not tackling me. And you over here, you hungry, you a dog on that field because you know that you have to work extra hard because you don't have the type of talent they do, and that's where it comes where hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, you know,
Yeah,
because if you want it more, that's just what I'm saying. Like you have to want it more, and you have to really look back at it and really be like, damn, do I really like this game? Because you have to love the game. Otherwise, you're once you go against those guys who actually are about that life, are about that smoke, that will legit run at you with no hesitation. But to one thing in mind is just to truck you you're gonna go against those guys, and that's where you have to be different. You can't be like someone that's just playing the game just because you want the title of a football player, you know. But I'm definitely would say that you have to believe that you can, because if you don't, you won't, because it doesn't matter what city you're from. It doesn't matter where you're growing up, what team you're playing for. If you can be a standout if you really choose to be. Like it doesn't matter if you don't have Travis Hunter's talent level or Ryan Williams. You don't have to be like those guys for you to be good. You just have to believe it. Like the only difference between you and those guys is that they actually go out there and actually execute it. You just have it on your mind, but not really bringing it to life. And that's not really ideal if you think about it. So you just have to really bring your vision to life. You have to envision it first, and then you just go ahead and do it. It's really that simple. You just have to get out your head and just do it, man.
I mean, mentality is such a big thing for me. Like, even teaching in my classroom, when kids like, I can't do that. I'm like, why are you saying that? We haven't even tried it yet. We haven't even tried it yet. And you're already telling. Like, I get mad at kids like when they say. I think it's such a big thing. I mean, man, if you want to do something, how are you ever gonna do it when you're just like, I can't do it? Like,
Facts. That's
what?
definitely the number one thing. Like mentality is definitely the one thing that you have to have in football. It doesn't matter how much talent that you have. If you
Yeah,
don't have the mentality to actually play to your talent, your talent is just gonna get wasted. Because if you talented the first game and then the second game you're doubting yourself, like you're not gonna play your best game because you're over here doubting yourself when you're doubting your speed when you know that you can run faster than this. But in the process of you doubting, be like, damn, could I run faster than this? You're slowing yourself down instead of just having one mentality, and that's just one mentality. That's why I try to do, and that's why I try to be I try to meditate more, and just try to get work on my mentality, because the first thing that you have to do is just get your mentality straight, because if you don't, you're gonna be a puppy in the field, and you're just gonna get eaten. And that's exactly it. Like there is no secret to it. You have to strengthen your mentality first, because football is a mental game. Like if you, it's not easy to look at someone coming running up at you and you just go ahead and just go full speed at him. You have to try to overtake that. You have to really win. It's a mental battle, and you have to win the battle first before you
yeah.
can do anything.
That's it. I mean, most things are mental before they're physical or whatever, you know. So I totally agree with that, and it's great advice. I think that that's the most important thing is you got to put yourselves in position, not just on a physical level, but on a mental level, to be able to do anything that you want to achieve or to at least give it a go. I mean, with this, I mean, man, people laughed. I mean, I talked to your coach about this a lot, but people laughed at this idea when I thought about it 4 years ago, and I was like, I never thought it would kind of blow up into something that it is, but I used to think like, man, I coached for a long time. It's how I recruited kids to play at a Catholic school from different cities and towns. It was social media. It was showing what we did in sevens. It was showing what we did in our weight room. It was being funny. It was showing humor. Like, and then you start doing it and you just work hard. Like I look at this, I'm just like, yeah, I know I would work really hard. So that's not what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about like how am I gonna get it out there? Like I'll get it out there, but what's the best way of doing it, right? And that's the
Yeah.
same thing with like being a better player, realizing where you maybe need to get better, whether that's in your strength in the weight room or watching more film, or just kind of being tougher, getting tougher a little bit.
Yeah, see, but that's the thing though. The game of football is very unpredictable. And you're gonna fail. You're gonna feel like everybody's against you, and whenever you fail, like legit, everybody's gonna be against you because nobody want to cheer for a loser.
Yeah,
But you have to realize that when that time comes, you can't give up on yourself, because when nobody else believe in you, if you give up on yourself, there's no hope for you anymore, because you at the end of the day, you only have yourself, and if you don't believe in yourself, then your whole career is over. I'm
yeah,
sorry, but
that's it.
you have to go through that process first, and that's when the true you come out, because the game really exposes you. If it really exposes on what you tend to do when things get hard or when things really don't go your way. If I remember last year, against Link Classical, that was my worst game ever. I had let up like 2, 3 touchdowns at corner, and I kind of caused the whole team to lose. And so I was like, damn. And then I was going to school. Everybody was calling me trash, this and that. But that's when I had to realize that I had to walk. I had to take in those comments, this and that, because that's toughen up my skin. But to think that being um going from there to now is just it was such a mental like battle that I had to go with myself, but you just have to get in that mindset.
You do, and I think that's so important. I think you hit the nail on the head with that, and I think you gave great advice. I think that that's what young kids need to hear because, like you said, everybody likes to see the people sign those letters or get to those points, but it's like the work that you don't see them do that gets them to sign those letters and gets them to that point. So, um, and I'm saving the best question for last here because I know we're gonna have a few laughs about this. Obviously, I'm wearing my Medford Mustangs hat. Your booster
Sir.
Chris Murphy. You football in New Jersey. You play football in Massachusetts. I mean, talk about the booster president that you have here in Medford a little bit. I mean, this guy, I feel like he sometimes would wants to link on with the captains and walk out to the 50-yard line them for the coin toss. I mean, talk about this guy. I know you guys all love him. We bust his chops on here a little bit, but we know what he means to your guys' program and to you guys players. I mean, talk about your booster club president.
Yeah, no, dude is definitely legendary, man. He's always looking for ways to, help out, support the team better. Whether that's him like coming up with different events or asking us if we want to participate in this and that. But he's always looking for ways to like really bring the program to life outside of football. So that he's definitely a key important role to our winning season for sure because he does the things behind the scene that nobody like really think that he would do. But he's definitely a dude is legendary, man. And especially during when it comes game days, nobody's more fired up than him. I
Yeah.
have I have him on my highlight film. After I make a tackle, you see him going crazy, like yeah, Prince. I'm like yes, sir. But yeah, it's definitely legendary, man. The team couldn't be better without him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when we laugh, we joke with him a lot, and he's got to get better at ordering a certain amount of pizza. I think for the concession stand, it's a problem over the last few years. But if he tightens that up, man, he might be. I know in Massachusetts, he's probably the best booster, but he might be competing for like at least New England as one of the best booster club presidents. But I had to ask that,
Nah,
because always gets excited when I have Medford kids on here, especially football players. And I told him you were coming on here, and he was amped and he was pumped about it. So. I had to give him a little love here at the end of this as
yeah,
well.
he definitely wants to see like each and every single one of us succeed, and that's one thing about him. He goes the extra mile for us. I remember I had just randomly texted him. I was like, "Yo, can you give me a ride? It's too cold." He's like, "Yeah, I got you." But
Yeah,
yeah, definitely like he definitely looks out for us. Like definitely legendary, the
yeah,
best booster guy in my opinion. I ain't gonna lie.
yeah. I mean, whenever I need like a stat or like he gave me like so much ammo for the Thanksgiving game. I was like, okay, dude, I got a lot here. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's one thing. He's legit. He keeps all the stats in his head. Like he'll legit start talking about stuff from 20, 40 years
yeah,
later. Like he knows the exact stats from 20 years later. Man, dude definitely loves football. He definitely bleeds blue and white.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
funny. That's funny. Well, listen, we appreciate you coming on here today. I know obviously your excitement is kind of really beginning now, the second season for you, and that is kind of figuring out who is going to get your talents a little bit and where you're going to be going. So it's going to be exciting to follow you during that process. And obviously, we'll be popping some of these clips on here from Instagram, from here onto Instagram, so people can see this. And we're really excited. But keep in touch with us. Obviously, anything that we can do, anything we can collab with on you, post on our end to help you and get what you're doing out there a little bit as far as you're concerned, as far as your recruiting. Let us know, man. We will definitely help, and that's not even a question. Just tell us what you need us to do. So,
Thank you.
but we appreciate you coming on here. You work hard. I do want to give you a little love before you get off here. When we did tape in the other episode, he won a race and then popped on the podcast. So not only did he come on to talk, he also won a first place and then came on and casually came on the podcast. So I do want to make sure people are aware that he runs into a track and he's a stud there too. But I mean it. Let's just make sure that anything you need, just let us know. We can definitely help you out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely appreciate it. Yeah, you definitely are helping a lot of kids out there, and most people don't realize it, but that's huge, man. You actually are putting those kids out there that doesn't really have that much exposure because they're not. Most of these kids are underrated, and to see you putting them out there, that's huge, man. And we definitely thank you for that. That's legendary. And
I
keep going.
appreciate Thank you. It means a lot to me. It's a lot of work with this, but it's a lot of fun work, and
Yeah,
our mission, man. So that's like it's good when we're able to do that and be able to help out kids in their recruitment process and getting their stuff out there because it ain't easy. Like you mentioned in this, man. If you're not your own best salesman, then if the recruitment process can be really tough. So I appreciate you saying that because we do try to help out whatever end we can to kind of give coaches a different perspective on athletes.
yes, sir.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. We're we got some fun stuff coming up. I've taken a little time off the videography stuff, but we are working. We're excited. We're going to be working with Shawshene Tech basketball, Shawshene Tech wrestling, Chelmsford High School basketball. We're going to be doing a little docu with Malden Catholic, which you'll be seeing on our Instagram soon. So we have a lot of fun projects coming up, and I'm sure there's other schools we're going to be working with right now. But we are sinking our teeth in some really fun stuff and really try to take Beyond in a different direction as far as our documentaries go. And trying to create a documentary department like Netflix Sports. So, we're trying to do that for ourselves here Beyond a little bit. But, we have a lot of fun stuff. So check out our Instagram. It's a lot of stuff coming up after the new year. And this is our last episode of 2024. So you are our last person. I believe this is episode 172 or 3. So you're getting close to 200 here. So we're getting excited about that. And we appreciate you being our last guest. We love covering you. And yeah, man, best of luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So without further ado, guys, I'm Anthony Petralis, Prince Xavier. This is Beyond Podcast. Till next time.